Hello and welcome back to my channel. Um, Today is going to be, or this video is going to be another wide subject. It's going to be why I like anime and manga. So all the jokes aside, all the community discourse of what anime or manga is better, so on and so forth. What's better? I think it's fair to say that there's such a large umbrella that has been opened up to audiences in general, not just from the Asian continent, but over here in America. You can see it out in the UK. You can find pretty much a lot of options of ways to consume the product, much less to enjoy it. And um, one of the big things for me is I like variety. So when it comes to the two, there's a huge variety of art styles. There's a variety of stories. Um, I'm going to throw in a meme here or a joke. There's a variety of waifus. If you don't know, dear Lord, I hope you stay that way and enjoy not being tainted by the jokes and whatnot. Um, that aside, there's a good huge variety of options as far as like what categories: romance, action, horror, comedy, sports, mecha, um, fantasy. It's a broad umbrella that definitely covers quite a few good, bad, ugly. Um, if you're familiar with the term fan service, there's a, a debate for individuals that they have to go through figuring out whether they like more fan service, less fan service, more story. Does it contribute to the story? Does it detract from the story, or the whole kind of anime that you're watching? Does it take away what you're take away from what you're doing? Does it distract versus does it enhance what you're watching? Other than that, I don't want to go too deep into those. I think as I go through different series, I'm going to cover different character designs a little bit more. Not to the point where it gets exhausting. I don't like going too much into detail about different characters for too long. It ruins the fun of the story as a whole. Unless it's just nonsense, then I'll probably highlight it. Um, the the earliest I can remember from ever seeing anime was either Dragon Ball or Gundam when it was on late at night on, oh, what was it, Toonami? I think it was Toonami. When I was wee little, it you had to sneak out of your room to go watch it on the TV out in the living room. Well, I did, and it came on at like 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Um, that being said, there's the mainstream kind of what helped open the door for anime and manga to kind of grow in America. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. Well, not a couple of them, a handful of them. Um, so there's Naruto. Naruto has a large, uh, I'd say not only a large fan base, but a large kind of story to it. Same with Bleach. Um, Same with Death Note. Death Note, it didn't run as long, but I think the inevitable comes when you write yourself into kind of a corner. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Death Note wrote itself into a corner in a way that fit the story. Um, and I think if they expanded upon certain ideas, it could make a comeback. Um, there's Dragon Ball, Zoids, Gundam, and then probably one of the most famous anime movies, Akira. Um, so having that large variety and those options, it covers a good bit. There's so many more highlights to point out. Um, and each series has their ups, their downs, their good characters, their bad characters, and I don't mean good and bad as in how they're or how they're portrayed, but how they're written. Um, some overly cartoony villains, some overly cartoony heroes, um, and I think that's kind of a beautiful thing to be able to access and have throughout different franchises. So that way it creates discourse and engagement, not just, oh, well, this one sucks, or oh, this one's great, and if you don't like it, you're wrong, right? There's a way to kind of keep those fandoms and those franchises open without ruining it, and expanding upon those series. I think not only as we grow, watch to grow characters or watch characters grow and a series grow, we also sometimes see like side stories or filler arcs or something along those lines. I kind of wish some of the filler arcs were a little bit more in depth with the other characters involved and not just the main character. But I understand why they do it, right? It's if that's the character that brought you into the series, you're probably not going to want to watch a spin-off or a side story. I'm not saying that's true for a large part. I'm saying it's a possibility, right? And everybody wants to stick to what makes the money for them to continue, so it's understandable. And I think it's fair to keep it that way. Um, but the other positive to anime is, well, anime and manga is it's helped bring some larger hobbies and passions to kind of a next level or to a higher level. Um, Trading card games, or maybe I'll cover Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. They're better known as TCGs. Model kits. There's quite a bit that comes with them, and I think it's great, and I think it brings a level of engagement that is kind of needed to help grow these things, but it's also just a fun hobby for people. Like I, as much as I wish I could just casually buy model kits at whatever rate I felt like, I am very selective with it when I'm limited on budget, and it helps me kind of understand how to prioritize what you want versus what you feel is necessary for like a collection, right? It gets the challenging thought process going. And I think the same could be said for TCGs. I mean, there's cards that cost $10,000 on the secondhand market because of how rare or how valuable or how useful they are. Um, so again, it helped bring those to a broader elevation and a higher elevation, right? It's there's so much more to them now when you integrate like different franchises into a card series, or if you have that card series, you highlight and make your own uniqueness to them. And the other part to that is anime and manga has brought a unique art style to the larger audience. I think it's fair to say that they kind of elevated how characters are drawn and like anywhere you go in a bookstore, you see something that looks more familiar to an anime style character than a Western style cartoon. Um, Western, by Western, I mean, or Western style, I mean more like a 2D style, whereas anime has almost a 3D depiction to it. Again, they've also grown, and it's not just that way, right? There's kind of a way of better showing depth to characters rather than just the plain shadows. And again, not throwing any shade on cartoons, but anime was known for its more, in some cases, more mature portrayal. And by mature, I don't mean personality wise. I mean, if you have a character who has certain features or certain things that are more relatable to like an adult or to a I'm trying to think of how to describe it because it it gets difficult for me to try to describe things. Um, but its art style is recognizable in various media compared to American cartoons, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just a different style, different ways of expressing these stories or characters, and it's a beautiful thing to see options, right? I don't want to just see all the same art style everywhere all the time. It gets dull. It's like seeing the same car over and over and over, and eh, it's not so unique anymore, right? So I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah, that's why I like anime and manga. Um, and again, I only covered broad topics because I want to set up a kind of a stepping stone for different anime that I want to get into. Um, I know there's plenty of channels that go into deep lore and deep discussions. I think what I'm going to do is make a series that kind of explores more basic levels of things, but doesn't go too deep, so it doesn't ruin it. If anybody wants me to go into further lore or whatnot, I'm willing to. But I think keeping a broad range of things just helps people understand what the good and bad of different things are. And I still want to keep a decent criticism. I don't want to be too biased. So that being said, if you like the video or if you have any suggestions or anything you want me to check out, please feel free to leave comments, like the video, and hell, if you like hearing me ramble about nonsense, feel free to subscribe. If you recommend a series, I might get to covering it. We'll see. Thank you.